Captain Park stood on the bridge of the S horizon and stared at the massive ship that had appeared from nowhere. It was bigger than anything humanity had ever built. The alien vessel was dark purple and shaped like a crescent moon. It was at least 10 kilometers long. Her ship looked like a toy beside it. "Captain, we are receiving a transmission," said her communications officer. "Put it through," said. Her voice was calm, but her heart was beating fast. The screen flickered and showed a face that was not human. The creature had gray skin, 4 eyes arranged in a diamond shape, and no visible nose. It wore golden robes covered in strange symbols. When it spoke, the translation software turned its words into English. "I am High Envoy of the Galactic Empire. You are the species called humans, yes. We have been watching you for some time. Your expansion into space has been noted. The Empire wishes to welcome you into our family of worlds." Exchanged a look with her first officer. This was the moment humanity had wondered about for centuries. They were not alone, but something in the envoy's voice made her uncomfortable. It did not sound like a welcome. It sounded like a warning. "I am Captain Park of the Earth Spaceship Horizon. On behalf of humanity, I greet you. We would be honored to learn more about your empire." The envoy made a sound that might have been laughter. "You will learn much, human. We are sending coordinates to your vessel. You will bring your leaders to meet with our delegation. The Empire has a generous offer for your kind." The transmission ended. Immediately sent a priority message to Earth. The response came within hours. Admiral himself gave her orders. She was to escort the alien delegation to Earth. Ambassador Lee would handle the negotiations. 2 weeks later, the alien delegation arrived on Earth. They landed in Geneva, where the United Earth Council had its headquarters. Ambassador Lee met them at the landing pad. She was a small woman with silver hair and sharp eyes. She had spent 40 years negotiating treaties between Earth's nations. Now she would negotiate for all of humanity. High Envoy walked down the ramp of his shuttle. Behind him came 20 guards in black armor. They carried weapons that hummed with energy. The message was clear. The Empire was powerful, and it wanted everyone to know it. "Ambassador," said, "I trust your leaders are ready to hear our terms." "We are ready to discuss friendship between our peoples," replied smoothly. Friendship made that laughing sound again. "Yes, the Empire is very friendly. Come, let us talk." The meeting took place in the Grand Hall of the United Earth Council. Leaders from every nation on Earth watched through video screens. Admiral sat in the back of the room, his face like stone. Captain Park stood beside him. She had been asked to attend as a witness. Stood at the center of the room and activated a holographic display. It showed a map of the galaxy. A huge area was colored in purple. It covered nearly a quarter of the visible stars. "The Galactic Empire," announced proudly. 400 star systems, 47 species under our protection, 10,000 years of peace and order. We are the greatest civilization in the known galaxy. He pressed a button, and the map zoomed in on a tiny yellow dot at the edge of the purple zone. "This is your star, your Sol. You are small, but you have potential. The Empire sees value in humanity. Therefore, we offer you integration." Ambassador leaned forward. "What does integration mean exactly?" Smiled, at least thought it was a smile. It showed too many teeth. "It means you become part of our family. We will protect you from the dangers of the galaxy. We will share our technology with you. In return, you will contribute to the Empire." "Contribute how?" asked. "A simple tribute. 20% of your planetary resources each year. A quota of workers for Imperial projects. Your military vessels will be absorbed into our fleet. And of course, your government will answer to the Imperial Council on matters of importance." Silence filled the room. Felt her hands form into fists. Beside her, Admiral's jaw tightened. Ambassador's expression did not change. "You are asking us to become a vassal state." "We are offering you survival," said. His voice became cold. Every species in our empire accepted these terms. Those who refused no longer exist. The galaxy is dangerous, Ambassador. Small species do not last long without protection. Stood up slowly. She was half the height of the alien envoy, but somehow she seemed just as tall. High Envoy, humanity thanks you for your offer. However, I must respectfully decline. Earth will not surrender its freedom, its resources, or its people. We wish to have friendship with your empire, but not as servants, only as equals. Stared at her. His 4 eyes blinked one after another. You refuse. No species has ever refused. Then we are the first, said simply. For a long moment said nothing. Then he turned and walked toward the door. His guards followed. You have 1 standard year to reconsider, he said without looking back. After that, the Empire will come to collect what it is owed. One way or another, humanity will join us. The doors closed behind him. Admiral stood up and looked around the room at the shocked faces of Earth's leaders. His voice was quiet but firm. We have 1 year. I suggest we use it well. In the silence that followed, Captain Park made a decision. She would not watch humanity become slaves. Whatever was coming, she would fight. And she knew she was not alone. 6 months had passed since the aliens left Earth. 6 months of fear, preparation, and secret work. President had not slept properly in weeks. Every night, she dreamed of purple ships filling the sky and burning cities below. But humanity had not been idle. She walked through the underground facility known only as Project Shield. It was built deep beneath the mountains of Korea, hidden from any eyes in the sky. Here, Earth's greatest scientists worked day and night on a single goal, finding a way to fight back. Dr. Han met her at the entrance to the main laboratory. She was young for a chief scientist, only 35 years old, but her mind was sharper than anyone had ever met. Madam President said, "Thank you for coming, we have something to show you." They walked past rows of computers and equipment that did not understand. In the center of the room sat a small device. It looked simple, just a metal box with blinking lights, but the scientists around it looked excited. "This is it?" asked. "This is it," confirmed. "We call it the null field generator. We studied every scan we took of the alien ships. Their shields use a specific type of energy field. This device creates a wave that cancels that field completely." Felt her heart beat faster. "You mean we can disable their shields?" "Yes, without shields their ships are just metal and glass. Our weapons can hurt them." Paused. "They are not invincible, Madam President. They just never needed to be. No one has ever fought back before." That night called a secret meeting of her most trusted advisors. General was there, along with Admiral and Ambassador Lee. She told them about the null field generator. "This changes everything," Admiral said. His eyes were bright with hope for the first time in months. "It changes nothing if we do not have the courage to use it," General replied. He was an old soldier with scars on his face and fire in his voice. "We can build weapons, but weapons are useless if we are afraid to fight." Ambassador spoke carefully. "Our intelligence teams have learned much about the Empire in these 6 months. They have conquered 47 species. Every single one surrendered without a fight. The Empire does not know how to handle resistance. Their entire system is built on fear and the assumption that no one will say no." "Then we say no," said quietly. Everyone looked at her. She stood up and walked to the window. Outside, the stars were shining. Somewhere out there, an empire waited to enslave her people. She thought about her daughter, only 8 years old. What kind of galaxy would she grow up in? "We cannot hide," continued. "We cannot run. If we surrender, we lose everything that makes us human, our freedom, our dignity, our future." She turned to face them. "I say we fight, and I say we tell the whole galaxy that we are fighting." General nodded slowly. "A declaration." "Yes, a declaration that Earth will not submit, that our space is ours, that the Empire is not welcome here. Admiral leaned forward. If we do this, there is no going back. They will come for us. They are already coming, said. At least this way we face them standing up. 1 week later, the United Earth Council gathered for the most important vote in human history. Representatives from every nation sat in the Great Chamber. The world watched through screens in every city, every home, every phone. President stood at the podium. Her hands were steady. Her voice was clear. People of Earth, 6 months ago we were visited by the Galactic Empire. They came with smiles and spoke of friendship. But their offer was not friendship. It was slavery. They wanted our resources, our labor, and our obedience. They gave us 1 year to surrender. She paused and looked at the camera. Today, we give them our answer. She unfolded a piece of paper. The words on it would echo across the stars. By the authority of the United Earth Government, speaking for all of humanity, we hereby declare, the Galactic Empire is banned from entering Terran space. Any Imperial vessel that crosses our borders will be considered an act of war. We do not seek conflict, but we will not accept chains. Humanity was born free, and humanity will remain free. Her voice rose. To the Empire we say this, we are not your servants, we are not your slaves, we are the people of Earth, and we bow to no one. The chamber erupted in cheers. Around the world people stood up from their chairs. They hugged their families. They cried. They shouted. For the first time in 6 months they felt something other than fear. They felt pride. Far across the galaxy, in the golden throne room of the Imperial Palace, High Envoy received the transmission. He watched the small human woman speak her defiant words. He watched the cheering crowds. Then he laughed. Prepare the third conquest fleet, he ordered. It seems the humans need a lesson in reality. Behind him, admirals and generals began to move. Ships were called. Soldiers were gathered. The largest military force in 10,000 years began to turn its eyes toward a small yellow star at the edge of the map. The Empire was coming. But on Earth, General smiled grimly as he reviewed his battle plans. Let them come, he said to no one in particular. We will be ready. Commander Shin watched the enemy fleet emerge from hyperspace. 500 ships appeared in the darkness beyond Neptune, their purple hulls glowing with power. They moved in perfect formation like a wall of death coming to swallow her world. She had 85 ships, 85 against 500. All units, this is Commander Shin, she said into her communicator. Her voice was calm and steady. She could not afford to show fear. You know what we are fighting for. You know what happens if we lose. Today, we show the galaxy what humanity is made of. Across the fleet, men and women gripped their controls. They were scared. Of course they were scared. But they were also angry, and anger was a powerful thing. Lieutenant O sat in the cockpit of his fighter. He was the leader of the 77th Squadron, one of the best pilots Earth had ever produced. His hands did not shake as he powered up his weapons. 77th, form up on me, he ordered. Remember your training. They are bigger, but we are faster. They have numbers, but we have the null field. Stay close to the carriers until I give the signal. Engineer watched from the command ship. She had spent 2 years building the combat AI that would help coordinate the battle. It was her creation, her child in a way. Now she would see if it could save humanity. AI is online and ready, she reported to Commander Shin. It has analyzed their formation. There is a weakness on their left side. The flagship is hanging back. Shin nodded. Good, we hit them where they do not expect it. The Imperial fleet advanced slowly. They were in no hurry. They had done this many times before. Conquest was routine for them. The aliens expected the humans to either surrender or die quickly. They were wrong. Operation Defiance begins now, Shin announced. Phase 1, activate the asteroid field. For months, Earth had been preparing the outer solar system as a battlefield. Thousands of asteroids had been moved into position using remote drones. Now, those asteroids began to move. Hidden engines fired, sending massive rocks tumbling toward the alien fleet. The Imperial ships scattered, breaking their perfect formation. They had not expected this. Their weapons fired wildly, destroying asteroids but wasting energy. Phase 2, Shin ordered. Deploy the platforms. From behind moons and debris fields, hundreds of automated weapon platforms emerged. They were small and cheap, built in factories across Earth over the past year. Each one carried a null-field generator and a single heavy cannon. The platforms opened fire. Imperial ships lost their shields without warning. Captains shouted in confusion. How was this possible? Their shields were supposed to be unbreakable. Before they could react, human weapons tore through their unprotected hulls. 50 Imperial ships died in the first 5 minutes. They are regrouping, shouted. The flagship is moving forward. Shin smiled grimly. Good, that is where we want them, Lieutenant O, it is time. Heard the order and felt excitement flood through his body. 77th Squadron, follow me. We are going for the head. His fighters launched from the carrier like arrows from a bow. They were small and fast, designed for exactly this moment. The null-field generators on their wings hummed with power. The Imperial flagship was enormous, nearly 20 kilometers long. It bristled with weapons, but was not afraid. He had studied this ship for months. His AI had found something interesting in the scans. There, he shouted. The exhaust ports near the engine section. Their shields are weaker there because of heat venting. The 77th dove toward the flagship. Enemy fighters tried to stop them, but the human pilots were better. They twisted and turned, avoiding fire with movements that seemed impossible. They had trained in Earth's atmosphere, fighting gravity itself. Space combat was easy by comparison. Reached the exhaust port and fired his null-field generator. The shield around that section of the ship flickered and died. All units fire everything you have at these coordinates, he yelled. 20 fighters unleashed their weapons into the exposed hull. The explosions tore through the engine room. Secondary explosions followed. The mighty flagship began to break apart from the inside. Across the fleet, Imperial soldiers watched their command ship die. Panic spread like fire. Without the flagship, there was no coordination. Ships began to retreat. Some collided with each other in their hurry to escape. Commander Shin pressed the attack. Her ships chased the fleeing enemy, destroying those who were too slow. The automated platforms continued their deadly work. By the end of the day, 340 Imperial ships were destroyed or disabled. The rest fled into hyperspace, running back to the Empire with unbelievable news. They had lost. For the first time in 10,000 years, the Galactic Empire had been defeated in battle by a species that had barely left their own planet. When the news reached Earth, people poured into the streets. They cheered and cried and held each other. They had done the impossible. In the command center, Commander Shin finally allowed herself to sit down. Her hands were shaking now. She had lost 32 ships, thousands of soldiers, friends. But they had won. Lieutenant landed his damaged fighter and climbed out slowly. He surrounded him, slapping his back and shouting his name. He smiled, but his eyes were tired. "This is not over," he said quietly. "They will come back bigger, angrier." He was right. But for now, for this moment, humanity had proven something to the galaxy. They could fight, and they could win. 1 year after the Battle of Sol, the galaxy was changing. The news of Earth's victory had spread to every corner of known space. On hundreds of worlds, enslaved species whispered the story to each other. The humans won. The humans said no, and they won. Ambassador Park, once a starship captain, now traveled from star system to star system with a simple message: join us. Her ship, the S Dawn, arrived at the planet of the people. They were tall, thin creatures with blue skin and 3 arms. The Empire had conquered them 800 years ago. They had forgotten what freedom felt like. The Council met her in secret. They were afraid. Imperial spies were everywhere. "You ask us to rebel," said Council leader, his voice barely above a whisper. "You do not understand. We tried once 3 centuries ago. The Empire killed half our population. They made us watch our cities burn." Nodded. She had heard similar stories on every world she visited. The Empire ruled through terror. Fear was their greatest weapon. "I understand your pain," she said, "but I also see your chains. The Empire is weaker than you think. We proved that at Saul. They are not gods. They are just bullies who have never been challenged." "One battle does not make a war," replied. "No, but it makes a beginning," leaned forward. "We are not asking you to fight alone. We are asking you to stand with us, with all the species who want to be free. Together we can break them." It took 3 more meetings, but in the end they joined. They were the 7th species to join the Free Worlds Coalition. Earth was building an alliance that the Empire had never faced before. Back on Earth, General had a different job. He was training soldiers, but not human soldiers. Representatives from allied species came to learn how humans fought. There were small, furry creatures who had been used as servants by the Empire. They had never held weapons. General watched them practice with rifles and smiled. "You are learning fast," he told them. "We are motivated," said their leader, a female named. Her eyes were hard. "My parents were killed in the mines. My children were taken to serve Imperial officers. I want them back." Nodded. "Then I will teach you everything I know. Human warfare is not about strength or numbers. It is about refusing to quit. It is about making the enemy pay for every step they take. It is about being unpredictable." He pointed to a tactical map on the wall. "The Empire fights in straight lines. They expect enemies to do the same. So we do not fight in straight lines. We attack from the sides, from behind, from above. We hit them and disappear. We make them afraid to sleep." Sfer bristled with excitement. "We understand. We have been afraid for so long. Now we will make them feel that fear." Meanwhile, on the conquered planet of a human named No worked in the shadows. He had been a spy before the war. Now he was something more. He was the leader of the resistance. His network spread across 3 imperial planets. Thousands of beings, humans and aliens alike, worked together to sabotage imperial operations. They destroyed supply ships. They freed prisoners. They spread information about Earth's victory. Tonight met with cell leaders in an underground bunker. The air was thick and hot. Everyone was nervous. "Imperial intelligence is searching for us," said one leader, unnamed. "They know we exist." "Let them search," replied calmly. "They cannot catch shadows, and every day they spend looking for us is a day they are not preparing for what is coming." "What is coming?" another leader asked. Smiled. It was not a friendly smile. "The coalition fleet is almost ready. 200 ships from 8 species. When they move, we move. Every resistance cell will rise at the same moment. The Empire will face rebellion on 100 fronts." He looked around the room at the faces staring at him. Some were afraid. All were determined. "The Empire thinks we are weak. They think we are scattered. They are wrong. We are everywhere. And when the time comes, they will learn what happens when you push people too far." Far away, on the Imperial, the Council was in chaos. Reports came in every day of unrest, sabotage, and defiance. Species that had been obedient for centuries were suddenly difficult to control. High Envoy stood before the Imperial throne. He had failed at Earth and his position was fragile. He needed to fix this. "Send the Grand Fleet," he suggested. "Every ship we have. Crush the humans and their allies in one massive strike. Show the galaxy that resistance is pointless." The Emperor, an ancient creature who had ruled for 1,000 years, considered this. "Very well," the Emperor said. "You will lead the fleet yourself, but understand this. If you fail again, you will not return." Bowed low. "I will not fail, my Emperor. The humans are clever, but they are still primitives. This time, we will burn their world and salt the ashes." As he left the throne room, felt something he had not felt in centuries: doubt. The humans had surprised him once. Could they do it again? He pushed the thought away. No, the Empire was too strong. The Grand Fleet was too large. The humans would fall and order would be restored. He was wrong, but he would not know that until it was too late. 3 years after the aliens first came to Earth, the final battle began. Supreme Commander stood on the bridge of the Coalition flagship, the S-Unity. Around him, 220 ships from 8 different species held formation. Humans, and 5 other races who had chosen freedom over fear. Across the dark space of the system, the Imperial Grand Fleet waited. 800 warships, the largest force the Empire had ever assembled. At its center flew the Imperial Command Ship, carrying High Envoy himself. Looked at the enemy fleet. It was terrifying. Even with everything they had built, the Coalition was outnumbered nearly 4-1. But he had learned something in these 3 years. Numbers were not everything. Will mattered more. "Open a channel to the Imperial fleet," he ordered. "All frequencies." His communications officer nodded. "Channel open, sir." Straightened his uniform and spoke clearly. "This is Supreme Commander of the Free World's Coalition. I speak to every being in the Imperial fleet, soldier and officer alike. Many of you were not born into the Empire. You were conquered, taken from your homes, forced to serve masters who see you as tools." He paused. "Today you have a choice. Stand down and you will be welcomed as free beings. Fight and you fight against your own liberation. The Empire is falling. It cannot stop what we have started. Choose wisely. Choose freedom." For a long moment nothing happened. Then slowly ships began to move, not toward the Coalition, away from the Imperial formation. One ship, then 5, then 20, then 100. Half of the Imperial fleet broke away. Conscript ships crewed by conquered species refused to fight against their liberators. They powered down their weapons and drifted to neutral positions. On the Imperial command ship, screamed with rage. "Traitors, all of you, fire on those ships, fire on them now." But it was too late. The Imperial fleet was in chaos. Loyal ships did not know which vessels to trust. The perfect formation collapsed into confusion. "Now," said quietly, "all ships attack." The Coalition fleet surged forward. Captain Shin, now commanding the Unity's strike group, led the charge. Her ship cut through the enemy lines like a knife. "Focus on the command ship," she ordered. "Cut off the head and the body dies." Around her, ships from 7 species fought together. They were fierce, their small cruisers darting between larger vessels. They fired with cold precision. Human pilots flew like demons, taking risks that made the aliens gasp. The Imperial loyalists fought hard, but they were confused and divided. For the first time, they faced enemies who were not afraid, enemies who believed they could win. Ship by ship, the Imperial line crumbled. Shin brought the Unity alongside the Imperial command ship. It was massive, but its shields were flickering. Null field generators across the Coalition fleet had been targeting it for minutes. "Boarding parties ready," she announced. "We are going in." The airlock connected with a grinding crash. Human Marines poured into the alien vessel, fighting through corridors that had never known invasion. The Imperial guards fought back, but they were not prepared for humans. They were not prepared for soldiers who kept coming no matter how many fell. Shin led from the front. She had lost friends in the Battle of Saul. She had spent 3 years preparing for this moment. Nothing would stop her now. They reached the command deck. The doors blasted open. Inside, High Envoy stood alone, his guards dead around him. He looked old, tired, broken. "You cannot win," he said, but his voice had no strength. "Even if you destroy this fleet, the Empire will send another, and another. We are eternal." Shook her head. "No, you were eternal because no one believed they could challenge you. We changed that. We showed every species in the galaxy that you can be beaten. Even now, rebellions are rising on 100 worlds. Your empire is dying. We just came to make sure it stays dead." She held out restraints. "Surrender, it is over." Looked at her for a long moment. Then slowly he held out his hands. Outside, the battle was ending. The remaining Imperial ships surrendered one by one. The Grand Fleet, pride of a 10,000-year empire, ceased to exist. When the news reached Earth, there was celebration like nothing in human history. People danced in the streets of every city. Strangers hugged each other and wept. The nightmare was over. But President did not celebrate. She had work to do. In the great hall of the system, representatives from dozens of species gathered. They looked to Earth for leadership. They offered humanity the throne of the galaxy. Stood before them and spoke. "Thank you for your trust, but humanity did not fight this war to become new emperors. We fought for freedom, for the right of every species to choose their own path." She smiled warmly. "We propose something different. A council where every species has an equal voice. A galactic free alliance where no one rules and everyone cooperates. Let us build something better than what came before." The hall erupted in cheers. Species that had been enemies for centuries embraced each other. A new era was beginning. 1 year later, a monument was built on Earth's moon. It stood facing the stars, a tower of white stone that could be seen from orbit. On its base, words were carved in 100 languages. The words said, "They told us to kneel, we chose to stand." Ambassador Park visited the monument on its dedication day. She was older now, with gray in her hair. She had seen things no human had seen before. She had helped change the galaxy. She read the words and smiled. "We did it," she whispered. "We actually did it." Behind her, ships from a dozen species crossed the sky in formation. The Free Alliance was growing every day. There would be challenges ahead. There always were. But humanity had proven something that would never be forgotten. When pushed, they did not break. They pushed back. And the galaxy would never be the same.